Hello, this is the turtleneck episode where all I talk about is this turtleneck. Do people even wear these things anywhere? I don't know. Style is difficult. If you are new and just discovering this video, I've been sharing my story with God. Last week I shared my God origin story. I'm gonna figure out how to do that. Today, I'd like to share the moment where I started questioning everything. I went to this really small Christian college in East Tennessee. It was kind of like youth group college. I loved it. I was so happy. I was outgoing and out of my shell more than I was in high school, and then I would do these plays and theater, and I just had a blast. Then there was this like really serious walk with God that I was doing. It was pretty easy because everyone around me was really doing that too. There weren't the same temptations or challenges or things at regular colleges like fraternities and frat parties with tons of drinking. For my 21st birthday, we went to O'Charlie's and I got like one drink and we all had one drink, and that was our big party. And then I became a leader at the college. I was an RA. I was voted on different courts. I was on the freshman court. I was voted Miss King College at the junior ball thing. I was happy and I was accepted. Those were things I lacked at younger ages. It was really painful experience, like in middle school, junior high. High school was better, but there was still a lot of just not being good enough. There was a lot of pain around that. It was amazing for me to just be happy. Okay, so this brings me to my junior year of college. Are you still with me here? Do we need to talk about the turtleneck again? Turtleneck. So I have this cousin and she's like 13 years older than me, and I'd always thought she was so cool. Her name's Brooksy. During some Thanksgiving holiday, we were all at my granny's house in Atlanta. She said, "You love theater so much, you should come to New York." I had this sort of casual invitation to go to New York, and then I just took her up on it on spring break. I just said, okay, I'm gonna go to New York. It's one of those things where you look back and you're like, I don't even remember how that happened or why, and I never had that deep of this desire to go to New York City, but just somehow So I just show up in New York and I'm 20 years old and she's like 33, 34. She's so cool. She's always been super cool, and she's like smoked a cigarette and listened to loud music. She had big hair. She was a child of the 80s and had big earrings, was really outgoing and cussed, like all the things that I was not. Bold and said what she felt, and I just always thought she was so cool. So here I was getting to hang out with her. I was really nervous most of the time, and I was really shy, and I was really awkward, and I was wearing sweaters kind of like this one. I went to a few different Broadway shows that week, saw Thoroughly Modern Millie, which is all about this young girl who decides she's gonna go for it and move to New York City, and then she sings great songs about it, and I know every song by heart on that soundtrack. Then my cousin says, all right, I'm gonna take you to something that's like a little more gritty. She gets us tickets to this show called De La Guardia. We go downtown, we go to this theater, and it's more of this like warehouse. It's kind of like going into a dance club. There aren't seats. You're just in different rooms. Like we're in one room and we're all standing. We're kind of pushed around, and then dancers are like moving through fabric curtains, sparkle dust, and what is it called? Like the gas, you know, and it's just like air floating through the room. Loud music. It's a different environment for me where it's like I'm kind of just like on guard. Like, what are they gonna do? Then we end up in this bigger warehousey room, and there's just all of these dancers like climbing on these walls, really loud music and drumming, and it's really cool, but it's got this kind of like sexy vibe to it that definitely is a bit out of my comfort zone. It's this sort of interactive show, so they end up kind of pushing the crowd, like encouraging you to be in different spots. And then this guy, he starts swinging across the theater, and he's just wearing a thong. He starts swinging across the theater on this giant rope, kind of like maniacally like chirping at us, like in this flirty way. So he's like swinging across, and then there comes this portion where like the rope stops and he drops down into the middle of the room, and we're all surrounded around him. You start to pick up on the fact that he's like scoping out the crowd to pick one of us to ride on this rope with him. And that's when Brooksy's like pushing me, and she's like pushing me to go to the front, to get the front of this little circle. She's like, go for it, do it, like you have to do this, like this is amazing. I'm feeling this like, oh my gosh, like yeah, I want to ride the rope with him. That looks so fun. And the part of me that's not really afraid of heights, not really afraid to be the center of attention, like it just sounds really fun. So I'm feeling to go, and I'm getting closer, and he's coming closer. And then right at that moment, it's like my life flashes before my eyes. I get this intense fear that everyone at my school is gonna find out that I had ridden on the rope with this guy on a thong in this like sexy warehouse show in the middle of New York City over spring break. And they would all think that I was like this bad Christian. And I was so scared, and I just like pulled back. And then he goes on, and he picks another girl, and they ride, and she's like, woo. And that moment though, it was like I saw myself for the first time in the way I had never seen myself. And I saw that a lot of the decisions I was making that I thought I was making for God, I was making to fit into this culture where I was accepted. And in college, it wasn't just where I was accepted, but where I was popular and liked. It completely shook me up, because it was the first spiritual awakening experience, which was me confronting myself and me seeing the parts of myself that were full of shit. It was the first of many to come over the course of my lifetime. That moment, paired with the rest of my experience in New York, where I was just seeing things for the first time I hadn't seen before. I was seeing all different types of people walking in the street. I was seeing like all different people with religions, all sorts of different people. And this is what made New York so special and so interesting. And yet so much of what I had heard at my different Christian churches and experience was about this one way to God. And I'm looking at all of this and going, but this is like what is so interesting and beautiful. And there's supposed to be something different, like in order to get in heaven, in order to have a relationship with God. Alongside that, I was having these talks with my cousin where she was going like, what do you want to do after college? And I was just like, I don't know, maybe be a teacher. And she's asking me, don't you have any dreams? And I was going, I don't know, I'm afraid to dream. She's planting the seeds of, you love theater, why don't you try it here? So the whole week really shook me. It shook me questioning myself. What I was making my life choices based on shook core things I understood about my faith, questions about possibly like taking these risks I'd never even dreamed of taking in my life. And then I went back to my little college in Tennessee. I went on a really deep questioning of my faith that really shook me to the core, because this was what I based my what is up, what is down on, what is left, what is right, what is the sense of smell, touch, sight, and sound. Like my whole reality was based on my belief system. So questioning them was really, really scary, because if I lose those, I don't know what to base anything on. So I think I'm gonna leave you here with the cliffhanger. Coming back from spring break, questioning, because I had more to go through, and then there was me going through even more because I did end up moving to New York a year later. And then things got really interesting. So this is the next little segment of sharing my story. Thank you for coming along the ride and listening. And is there anything you'd like to share about I don't know, a crisis moment of faith? Or is it a crisis moment? Or is it a breakthrough moment? A moment where you start to question what's in here, where you start to question these thoughts and these beliefs and your sense of reality and what it's based on. Because maybe there's parts of it that are unconsciously based on a need for safety or a need for comfort or a need to fit in, versus what really feels like is the voice of God, the truth of God, or the truth of your spirit or your heart or whatever's there. Do we dare question our versions of reality and dare to get into that very messy, risky space where we don't know what reality is anymore because it's falling apart and a new one hasn't been formed yet? It's pretty exciting and pretty scary. So I'd love to hear any thoughts you have or anything you have to share. Please leave a comment, subscribe, share, all the juicy stuff. And thanks for watching. And let me know, do you like the sweater? Okay, bye!